Welcome to the Good Talk Podcast, where we remind you of the joy of life, the love of God, and the possibilities that lie ahead. Pete and Jordyn here with episode 48.
Turning your resolutions into reality.
Yes.
Which I need to do.
I'm excited. I love this time of year. I love setting goals and chasing dreams and New Year's resolutions. And
it's really fun if you have a spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, or your friend or your parents or whatever. If you just find someone that you want to do this with, because I feel like it's really fun and just kind of hold you accountable. But when you're setting your New Year's resolutions, like go somewhere fun and cool and do that with somebody.
Yep.
Like we do that every year. We'll go to like a coffee shop or somewhere inspiring. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about like what a nerd I sound like right now. But anyways, go somewhere and like you write them down and then you share them and then you can kind of brainstorm and like think bigger and have somebody kind of hold you accountable. But we do that every year. So if you haven't done your resolutions yet, that's a really fun kind of twist on setting them.
Yeah. And there's a reason behind that, because I'm actually going to talk about that here in just a second. We're going to talk about the 5, I think just goal crushing mistakes that people make when it comes to setting New Year's resolutions or goals or chasing after dreams. There's 5 things that people tend to do that kind of sabotages their ability to make that happen. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. But let's talk, if you're watching on YouTube, you know this. Our Christmas decorations are still up.
Well,
it's just the first week of January.
I've found some peace in knowing that. Did you know? I think we talked about this yesterday on the way to the grocery store. But there's like the 12 Days of Christmas song. There's people who like actually follow that. The 12 days after Christmas, they keep it up. So we're on day 11, I think. So we good. But that's like that's a thing.
I didn't know that was a thing. I'm gonna look that up because I'm down with that. I actually put up. We received some Christmas decorations for Christmas this year, and I put them up post Christmas. Yeah,
just so we can put them back in their boxes.
I know. I wanted to.
I came in the house. I was like, "What the heck?" You had decorated more when I was gone after Christmas.
We had an amazing Christmas, though, didn't we?
Oh yeah,
awesome time with your family in Georgia. Mm-hmm. I got to spend some time with the boys. We went skiing, which was phenomenal. 70 degrees out, but it was great.
Yeah, you guys went at like a heat snap or something, just crazy. But yeah, skiing is not something that I can physically do, so I let the boys go do that. I've torn my ACL twice, and on top of that, I am just the most clumsy person I know. I'm the most clumsy person I know.
I think you could do it. I think you should try it.
I don't. I've torn my ACL, so it's like I remember the surgeon saying, "Hey, there's like a couple things you can't do anymore after tearing it twice," and one of them was skiing. Which I get it, like the physics of it. It's like your knees are just. I
think we need a second opinion. If there's any orthopedic surgeons listening to this, would you shoot us an email or something? Because I want to know. No. Oh, that just reminded me of like meeting people. Interesting people that listen to this podcast. Tell a story.
So we were out with my family at this outdoor mall in Alpharetta, Georgia. It's a really cool place. I loved it. It's called the Halcyon. Anyway, there's places to eat. It's kind of all outdoor. You hang out outside. So we had just left lunch and we were walking and we were just kind of standing with the babies and this amazing gentleman by the name, I'm going to say his name, not as good as he does, but it's Jorge. I can't say it right.
You say it better. I just call it Jorge.
Jorge. And in the South, that's how we would say it. But he's from Madrid and he listens to our podcast and he came up to us. He was like, "Hey, I listen to your podcast and he read your books before." I think that's another touch point he had with you. But he was just so kind and sweet and encouraging.
Really cool dude.
And it was just really, really neat, not only to meet him, but to know like the reach of the podcast is international. And we're just super grateful.
Shout out to Jorge.
Yeah, he was here for a conference. What are the odds that we would?
I know, dude. It really was great to meet you, Jorge. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, no, that was so fun. That was amazing. But yeah, so but Christmas was good. I'm still like slowly oozing out of it. I'm like not back all the way mentally, but
it's hard for me to let go of it because you know how much I love it, and I know you do too.
Yeah,
but it's time to move on. And honestly, one of the things that often every year I feel like helps me like be okay with taking the tree down and everything is I'm usually pretty like just jazzed about motivated. The dreams and goals for the next year.
Yeah, no, that's true. It helps have something besides just it being January. It's like, okay, we have a clean slate. What are we doing with it?
Yep.
I feel like I need some energy around it. So I'm going to be listening as you speak too.
Well, I have a few thoughts about just 2022 and, moving in. And there's not a lot that we can predict about 2022, but the one thing I can predict is that we're headed there, right? We all are. Like, we're moving into the future, whether we want to or not. You can cling all you want to back to 2021. The reality is we are headed into 2022.
Yep.
And the question is 2022 going to be what I would call a default year for you or a design year for you? Because you can have a default life or a design life. And a default life, I think, is what the vast majority of people live. And by that, I mean, there's life just happening to them. They're just reacting to the things that are going on around them. That's a default life. A design life says, no. I'm not going to just sit around and wait to react as things happen in my life, but I'm actually going to design them. I'm going to set goals. I'm going to have intentions. I'm going to chase after some dreams. I'm going to establish some New Year's resolutions. And I talk to people, especially this time of year, you'll talk to people like, hey, what are your New Year's resolutions you're setting this year? And I don't know. I'd say more than half of people tell me I don't do them. It's like, well, why? It's like, I've done them in the past. It doesn't lead anywhere. And so that's why I was like, well, let's talk about that today, because statistically, they're right. Very few people, I think it's like 16% is the average of resolutions that are actually met. So when it comes to goals and dreams and resolutions, they're right. Most of the time, it doesn't happen. My question then is, why is that? Because I don't think our reaction to that very low percentage is just, I'm going to give up and I'm not going to have New Year's resolutions and I'm not going to have goals and I'm not going to have dreams. I'm just going to settle for a default future or a default life.
Right. You don't choose that intentionally.
No, I think the choice has to be to say, okay, well, maybe I've been setting these goals the wrong way. Maybe I've been chasing after my dreams in the wrong way. And so I want to talk today about what I think are 5 goal-crushing mistakes that people make.
All right, let's do it.
You ready?
Yep.
First one's this. You keep your goal or your dream to yourself. And this is a real common one, right? People have these goals and dreams or New Year's resolutions, and they just don't tell anybody. And I get it, right? I mean,
it's vulnerable.
It is. One of the scariest things you'll do is going public with a big goal or dream or resolution. Because in that moment, you fear, a lot of us fear rejection. Like, somebody going to look at me and be like, who do you think you are?
Or someone knows when you don't accomplish it. It's really easy to not accomplish a goal in silence. You're like, okay, that's all right. No one knew about me.
And it's one of the biggest mistakes that people make. I think that when you go public with your dream or goal, and when I say go public, doesn't mean you have to put it on social media. I mean, you can, but maybe this is just sitting down with some friends. This is one of the reasons that you and I go out at the beginning of every year and share our goals and dreams for each other, for ourselves, because there's some accountability in that, right? There's some accountability when you say, hey, this is what I want to see happen this year in my life.
Right.
And beyond that, also, as you continually say it out loud, you actually begin to believe it more and more.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% believe that.
Right? The more you say it, the more you're like, oh, that's actually possible.
I'm doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's been true for me. I think even as you and I, I for the first time have a fitness goal. I've always wanted to maintain my fitness, but postpartum, I feel like I have 5-10 pounds I want to shed that I've never really had to shed before because I've kind of just maintained my whole life. So I like saying things out loud to you, like, I'm going to get on the bike twice a day, and then, but saying it, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get on the bike twice a day. I want to not only show up for myself, but I also want you to see that I'm passionate about what I'm wanting to pursue too. It's it's a both and. So, well,
what you just did, whether it was intentional or not, you said that out loud on this podcast, what your goal is this year.
Oh, crap.
And by doing that, there's something inside of your mind on the days that you don't want to work out or do whatever it is that you need to do to establish or meet that goal. You're going to remember this moment. You're going to be like, oh, I said that out loud.
All those people.
See, it's a good thing. So that's mistake number 1, is you just keep it to yourself. Mistake number 2 is you try to achieve your goals on your own, which is very similar to mistake number 1, but it's also possible for you to go public with the dream, but then still try to achieve it all by yourself. And one of the single most important factors, I believe, when it comes to success in life, success in your goals and your dreams, is that it requires help. And usually lots of it. It's almost impossible to discount the influence of the people that you surround yourself with.
So what does that look like? So say it's a fitness goal. Are you saying like involving someone else just for accountability? Or, but that kind of goes back to the first one. So is this more like hiring a coach, hiring a trainer,
I think you could do that. I have this online course that we just put out called the Goalgetter, and you can check it out at thegoalgettercourse.com. I think first time I've nailed that. Like
that is, I was sitting here nervous. Like, oh gosh, she's gonna butcher that URL.
It's a online course that you can go through kind of on your own time whenever you want to. But there's also another element, an experience we created around it called the Goalgetter Academy, which launches next week. I'm only accepting 10 people into it. That's it. 10 people into it, launches next week. So you go to thegoalgettercourse.com and sign up for that group coaching experience if you want to. Part of the reason I did that is because of this right here. I think it helps to have a group of people. They might not even be chasing after the exact same goal you are, but to surround yourself with people who are trying to live a designed future, right? And they are actively pursuing a goal and dream. There's an energy that gets created around that.
Right. Okay.
Research has actually shown that if you're in a community that's getting healthier, if you're in a community that's overcoming something difficult, your chances of success go way up because positive energy is contagious. Yeah. Think AA, think group exercise class, think church small groups, think chamber of commerce, those type of environments where you're getting around like-minded people who are going after a similar goal, your chances of success go way up. So I'd say, yes, try to get into the Goalgetter Academy if you can. If you miss out on that, I'd get together with 2 or 3 friends to say, hey, why don't we hold each other accountable on these goals, but don't try to do it on your own. And if you can find someone who's already done what it is you're trying to do, even better.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
Even better, right? So I say, share your goals, but don't necessarily share them with everyone. You want to find people who understand the goal, people who will hold you accountable, people who will call you out when you're making excuses, people who want to encourage you and energize you when things get tough.
Yep.
And so I think that's important. Also, it's interesting, in the Goalgetter course, I actually talk about the 3 kinds of people that you need in your life to accomplish your most important goals.
Those are good ones too. I think, I won't give a sneak peek, but those are really important. All right. Number 3,
mistake number 3 is you get sidetracked by distractions.
Yeah.
This is a big one because most people, by the way, think that their biggest enemy to achieving their goal in 2022 is going to be procrastination. Maybe for some of you, procrastination is a major issue, but for the vast majority of you, it's not going to be procrastination. It's going to be distraction.
And sometimes I think we glorify the distractions.
Of course.
So it's like, oh, but for me, good example. Oh, but I have a baby and that's just part of it. Like I don't have time. And it's an excuse, but that is a distraction when you say like trying to say like, oh, this thing in my life that still could be good is a distraction.
Yeah. I saw it today. I had it was a small goal, a goal just for today, right? Something I needed to accomplish today. And I posted something on Instagram. And once I posted that, it was just, I was having so much fun reading the comments and like, well, who's that? I'll click on that profile. Oh, what do they do? Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know. And 20 minutes later, you look up and you're like, crap. Just distraction. It's not a bad thing, right? But it kept me from doing what I needed to be doing in that moment. And I think chasing goals and dreams takes a tremendous amount of focus and intentionality. And trust me when I say, when you're going after a big dream or goal in 2022, when you make that intention, every possible distraction in the world is going to come after you.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And so you need some systems, right? You need some accountability to help you re-engage with your goals and your dreams when you get distracted. That's a big topic. I hate to keep plugging this, but it's hard for me not to because I believe in it so much. That's part of what I teach in the Goalgetter course is how to push through those distractions and how to create systems in your life. We talk. There's in fact, there's a little daily planner that comes free with the course that you can print off. That I use almost every day that helps me organize my day in such a way as to minimize the distractions and prioritize the things I need to get done that day.
Yeah. And I think, a big part of that course and just in general in life, I'm not going to keep plugging the course, but like in general, setting your goals in such a way that is very specific and measurable helps you almost kind of like not avoid distraction, but it gives you more focus, right? So if it's just like, oh, Jordyn, you want to lose, 5 pounds by February, that's a lot more specific than I just need to get back in shape, So it's like, it helps me have like specificity helps me with distraction, I think. But you go through 7 actually different steps, ways to create those goals that make it even harder to miss if you're following those 7 things. So I don't know. I just think it's not only like the things around you that you have to be careful about, but it's also how you set the goal and how you create those benchmarks. And like you said, those systems. So
yeah, very important. All right. Mistake number 4. You ready? Mm-hmm. You try to figure it all out before you get started.
That's me.
It's paralysis of analysis.
Yeah, that's me. That's me in everything in my life. But yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. 100% of people who never get started fail at achieving their goals and dreams.
Oh gosh. Thanks.
It's true. I mean, and I see this all the time. You try so hard, all of us do, to figure out like every step of the dream and the goal that you get paralyzed in such a way that you can't move forward. And it's one thing to want to have a clear idea of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, whatever that goal or that dream or that resolution is. It's another thing to try to figure out the entire process before you even get started.
Exactly. So you and I, Pete and I have a couple of businesses actually, but one in particular I'm thinking about where I was so paralyzed because I was trying to think of like the ultimate vision. Like, what do we want this to be? How is this going to, grow? And what is it like? How do we present this? Because we have to go out the doors presenting it the right way and casting this vision for what it's going to be when we really don't actually know yet.
Right.
And so it's like, it stopped me forever from taking one of those like first baby steps. And as we took a baby step, it's like, oh, we really love this part. We don't love this part. I'm really glad I didn't try and like chase the, 30,000 foot thing when the first 10 feet were not right.
Right.
So it gave me so much encouragement to know, okay, those first little steps, we just have to jump and it's scary. But that was one of the biggest lessons for me was especially just like in business and creating something from nothing is you don't have to know what the ultimate. It's great if you do. Congratulations. That's awesome. But if you don't, it's okay. And that is part of the process, I think.
Yeah. You know where I kind of picked that up? Years ago, back in my church planning days, I would see this all the time. Like people want to, on paper, be able to, here's our mission, here's our vision, here's our values,
here are our pillars,
here's all this stuff. They'd have notebooks of all this stuff on paper before they'd ever even actually gathered any people. Mm-hmm. And for me, and I'm not saying this was the right way to do it, but for me, it's like, hey, why don't we get started and gather some people and see what comes out of that?
Right.
And then over time, okay, here's our mission, here's our vision, here's our values. Because everything that you're doing beforehand anyway is just aspirational, so just get started at some point.
So good.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, when it comes to my biggest dreams and goals, I've wanted clarity on the front end, but rarely have I ever had clarity. Clarity is always something that's come on the other side of achieving the goal of the dream.
Right. You just need courage.
Yep. Absolutely. Big time. And here's the 5th mistake. This is a big one, is believing that your greatest enemy to success is external. So a lot of people, when they think about their goals and their dreams, they think their biggest enemy is external. Like, I don't have enough money to do this. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough experience. I don't have enough connections. But rarely are any of those things your biggest obstacle to achieving your dream or your goal. Your biggest enemy is not the external factors. Your biggest enemy is yourself. More specifically, it's your thoughts. You keep believing everything that you think. And that is a huge mistake when it comes to chasing goals and dreams.
Mm-hmm. That's a good, if you say that again, if you believe everything you think.
Yeah. Don't believe everything you think. Don't, because your mind is going to play all kinds of tricks on you when you step out of your comfort zone and you try to accomplish some kind of big goal or dream, your biggest enemy, trust me, is going to be in your mind. And that's why in the Goalgetter course, I spend so much time on limiting beliefs and helping people identify limiting beliefs and get over those limiting beliefs. Because often what's keeping you from getting what you want is the story that you keep telling yourself.
Yeah, that's good.
That's it. I mean, it's huge. We hold beliefs about all kinds of things, and they have a direct influence over what we achieve and what we don't achieve. And when we have empowering beliefs, our achievements and our goals can almost feel effortless. But on the other side of that, when you have limiting beliefs, it can feel like you're pushing a big rock up a steep hill. And that's where some of you are right now. Like, you've got this dream, you have this goal, and it just feels like so much work. My guess is it has nothing to do with external factors. It has everything to do with what's going on inside of your mind.
Yeah.
And,
So how do you overcome that?
Well, you got to identify what are your limiting beliefs.
Yeah, you have to be aware of what they are.
Where did those limiting beliefs come from? And then I talk very specifically. I mean, it's, pretty in depth, but about how once you've identified the limiting beliefs, how do you go about, you don't just delete a limiting belief, you have to replace it. So you replace it with a truth, with a new mantra. And there's a process to that, and we talk about that in Goalgetter course, but it's doable. And it's an ongoing process. That's the reality, is that you can get rid of a limiting belief and replace it with the truth. And 3 weeks later, there's a new limiting belief that you didn't even know existed.
Yep.
It's like a whack-a-mole game. Remember that at Chuck E. Cheese, the whack-a-mole game?
I do.
That's what it's like with limiting beliefs. But I think it's key. I really do. I think the thing that's keeping so many of you from getting what you want is a story that you keep telling yourself. So, I don't know. I just think that the goals and the dreams that you have in your mind and your heart as you go into 2022 are really important. And they're too important to just leave up to chance. They're too important to leave up to a faulty system. And if you have a track record of setting resolutions and goals and dreams that you never really made a whole lot of progress on, what makes you think that 2022 is going to be any different, right? Try something different.
Yep.
Try a new system. Try a new way to approach it. Educate yourself. Get a coach. Sign up for a course like Goalgetter. Do whatever you got to do. But I think your goals and your dreams are way too important. And everybody wants to count the cost, Jordyn, of buying a book that's going to be helpful. They want to count the cost of going into therapy to heal some stuff from their past. They want to count the cost of getting a coach, or count the cost of buying an online course to get a little bit ahead. What nobody counts the cost of is the cost of being stuck in the same place a year from now that you're in now.
Yeah, and you don't really realize that cost until you're in that space, right? Like, you're not proactively thinking about that.
Yeah. So a lot of times, to kind of get people motivated, I'll ask them, what's at stake if you achieve this goal or this dream, or you accomplish this resolution? What's at stake? And what's at stake if you don't? And a lot of times it's very sobering to say, wow, there's a lot at stake here with these goals and these dreams. It's part of the price that we pay for wanting to live a design future versus a default future, is putting yourself out there and going after it. But I just really want to encourage people, do whatever you got to do to get serious this year about these goals and dreams. Don't find yourself a year from now being like, that was another year wasted, just dealing with what kind of comes at you in life instead of getting ahead of it and designing your future.
That's so good. I was talking to a friend this morning, and she was saying that same thing. Like, you had posted a quote yesterday on your Instagram, and she's like, that just really got me thinking. The quote was, do you remember what it was?
I don't.
It was essentially about, there are people out there less qualified than you, different from you, all the things that are doing what you want to do, and the only difference is that they believe in themselves.
That's right.
And she was like, that just kind of jarred me in a way of thinking, like, I want a designed life for my kids. I want a designed life for you. I want a designed life for everybody else. But for my own self, I make all these excuses as to why I'm stuck. And in my mind, I'm like, man, wouldn't you? But she said this very thing. She's like, but what am I showing my kids? What am I showing the people around me about me and the things that I believe in myself? So I don't know. That was just kind of like an encouraging thing, even for me to hear, being like, that's important. You're equally as important as the people that you dream for too. And so I just think it's so important, and such a, I don't know. I saw another, a friend of ours named AJ on Instagram, and she wrote like, you have one life.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you chase after everything with all of your intention and all of your might and make it happen, and not get to, the end of your life or halfway through your life and realize, man, I should have done more. I should have tried this. I should have just, dug in and gone for it. And I don't say that in like a negative way, but more of a like, go for it. Like, this is your time. Now is better than never. Like, yep. I don't know. And it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. I think it's so important. So we're passionate about goals here. And you just walked 30 people through a year-long process of chasing theirs. So I feel like you were able to really garner a lot of good experience and information from that is in this course. We're not just pulling this out of thin air. This has kind of been something you've studied for a long time and also have put through the ringer with some great people. So really excited about it. Again, if you're interested, it's the goalgettercourse.com. Or if you go to Pete's website, which is petewilson.co, you'll see it all on there too. But yeah, we are super excited about it. And like you said, the Goalgetter Academy, which is the group coaching option, that is like, we have, I think maybe 6 days from when this airs, for you to sign up if you're interested. If you miss it, there's still the self-guided course available to you, and you can kind of work through all the exercises
because the
yourself.
limit's 10 people, and I do that intentionally so I can spend a good amount of time with each person as we kind of group coach, kind of go through that together. The community comes out of that. The energy that's created when you are with other like-minded people who are chasing after a goal is pretty special. It's pretty fun, and it creates accountability, but more importantly, it creates that inspiration and energy that we often need to push through the messy middle of chasing after those goals. So I'm super excited about kicking that off next week.
Awesome. Good stuff.
It's going to be an awesome
2022.
year.
You
excited, Jor?
I'm excited. I feel like last year I had a ton of anticipation for such a different, like something upcoming, which was a baby. And now I'm kind of like, what is this year going to hold? Like, what is it going to be? And I think it's going to be a lot more focused around like in my own self, like things I need to do and less like preparation as it was last year. So I'm excited to see what happens.
It's going to be awesome. Well, we're wishing every one of you an amazing 2022. We're excited to be going on this journey with you this year through the podcast and connecting with you in different ways. Mm-hmm. So from our family to yours, Happy New Year. And I hope 2022 is an amazing year for you.